Your MMIs are basically the final hurdle that you have to pass to get into medical school. If you do reasonably well on them, most universities will give you an offer, and they're not nearly as competitive, in my opinion, as the UCAT, BMAT, or even your A-level. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 key things that are really important to remember. If that sounds like a good idea to you, let's get straight into the video. So let's get started with the first basic tip. Pretty obvious, but it's the dress code. Now, I'm not nearly dressed as I should be for an interview, and for an interview it's pretty obvious what you should wear. So the typical sort of dress code for MMI is basically what you would wear to school if your school has a uniform. So if you go to normally like an independent school, some grammar schools, you normally have sort of like uniforms, which are basically suits in upper 6th and lower 6th, or your school uniforms under that. So basically turn up in that, that's normally what you should wear, so a suit, a shirt. A couple of big no-nos for everyone is short sleeve shirt, jeans, trainers, those kind of things, don't rock up wearing them. Basically whatever you'd wear to something quite formal, so so basically take the MMI as a formal occasion, so whatever you'd wear, not too colourful, not too flashy, basically something along the lines of a suit is probably the best idea. Now let's get a little bit more into the actual interview. So the dress code is pretty obvious. Once you're sat down at the interview, a lot of the answers that you give are obviously going to be based upon your work experience, your volunteering, etc. But the key thing that you have to do in every single answer that you give is reflect. Now, medical schools love to see how well you can reflect, whether this be on your experiences in volunteering or work experience, whatever it is, you've got to reflect. And reflect just means that you pick up on an experience that you covered, let's say, in your volunteering. You talk about why that experience is really important to you, and then you talk a little bit more about how that's going to apply to your future practice, hopefully, as a medical professional, okay? So, talking about something in the past and how it applies to something in the future. That's basically what reflecting is, okay? So you need to talk about what you learned from it, what you got from it, the skills you gained, and how they're going to apply to you in the future. The more you reflect in your interview, the more successful it's going to be, most likely. Another add-on to this is to always revise anything medical that you put in your personal statement. So a big sort of error that a lot of people make is they write something, offhanded. They put a quick one-liner about research they did into peripheral vascular disease as part of a project that they did. And they sort of write a one-liner about that. And then they don't revise anything about peripheral vascular disease except their project, and then come interview, you get quizzed on vascular disease and peripheral vascular disease more specifically. This is really common. It happened to me at Imperial. They will pick up on anything medical that you've written about in your statement. So not just to do with projects, but if you said you volunteered at, some sort of a heart disease charity shop, so the BHF, and you talk about heart disease a little bit. You didn't do a project on it, but you just did volunteering at that shop. They might pick up on that and ask you, okay, do you know what heart disease is? Can you tell me why it's such a big problem? Can you tell me about some of the current solutions that are being done to combat heart disease? Nothing too complicated, but something relatively simple. So a couple of good places to go and check up on this are WebMD, it's really good, and the NHS website, patient.co.uk, that's really good for UK students especially. It's a fantastic website, it's got everything that you need in it. So just go and do some basic research, A-level standards plenty, but just make sure you've done some reading on whatever you've written in your personal statement, especially anything medical related. Also, revise your basic concepts in ethics. Now this should be pretty obvious because most unis have a ethics station, but you want to really revise those basic concepts, the 4 pillars of medical ethics. Not only this, but they're not going to ask you a question about the 4 pillars specifically, but they'll ask you a general ethics question, what do you think about the ethics behind forced vaccination? And then you should be able to apply the 4 pillars of medical ethics to your answers, okay? So that's really important. If they aren't asking you about the concepts of ethics that you revised, it's most likely that they expect you to use them in your answers. So it's not just the 4 pillars, it's things like the rule of Bolam, that's a really important one. Things like the General Medical Council, so Tomorrow's Doctors, that's a really useful document that you could go and read about. So there are a load of ethical principles that it might be worth learning about, but you just need to remember they're not going to explicitly ask you about them, but they will be expecting you to use them in the answer. So always remember to use and frame your answers around these ethical concepts, and that'll get you the extra marks that you need to get into med school. And finally, this is a really easy one. Be confident, have a smile on your face, and look like you want to be there. The worst thing you can do is rock up and be really anxious and nervous and sort of like jittery and not answering questions properly, looking around the room, being quiet, not really talking much. They've given you this opportunity, this 1.5 hour block for you to show yourself and to really gloat about everything that you've done. So don't waste it being nervous, that's the worst thing that you can do. Get in there, talk loads, be confident, even if you're not enjoying it and you're really nervous, just put a smile on your face and look like you want to be there. Now that's everything. Those are really simple tips. Obviously they aren't very in-depth, but if you want me to make more in-depth videos about the MMIs, I've done a few already. If you want me to make more updated ones, I can do that on any specific topic or station. Let me know in the comments down below, or you can DM me on Instagram. Apart from that, I think that's everything, so I'll let you guys go. Hopefully see you all in the next upload.